Well, hey crafty friends, it's Hiedi Scott with DiyDreaming, and oh my gosh, you're gonna love this video. It is going to cause your mind to spin in a million directions of all the different ways that you can do this. So this is probably just going to be episode 1 of this idea. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using some vintage dictionary pages out of this book and this book that both came from Goodwill. And later I'm going to fiddle around with using some vintage map pages. You could use scrapbook paper, you could use brown craft paper, you could use wrapping paper, you could use a zillion different things. Anyways, we're going to be making this style of flower, which I saw on this beautiful page called DIY Beautify, and I wanted to put my own spin on it, and this was my number 1 spin. Can you guys see that I added some copper ink in just random places, and I put a little point on my flowers. Anyway, so I'm going to show you everything start to finish, and yeah, as you're hopping on, say hello, let me know that I'm not just talking to myself in my craft room. This is what you're going to need: some sort of a vintage dictionary or a book. It could even be brand new. If you want to do this style, or you could do maps. So you need some kind of paper. You're going to need some kind of cardboard, and these were both in our garage. You're going to need some wooden dowels to build them on, or some sticks from the yard. If you want to do the idea that I just showed, you would need some ink, and I think it would be absolutely lovely to do silver, copper, rose gold, and gold. These are great. Those are inks, but you could use chalk paste as well. And then you're gonna need, this is for absolutely 100%, you're gonna need a low temperature hot gluing device. Don't even try this project with hot glue, because I had this all over my fingers after just fiddling around for a few minutes. Okay, so I have some cut out that I'll show you the next step, but let's start with the cardboard. Okay, I'm going to cut a strip that is about 1 inch, and this is going to be the center of the flower. And what I have experimenting and fiddling around with this, I have discovered that what I like better is kind of a wavy top to the flower. So I'll show you this in just a second. Can you see? So this is the first step, and then you're going to turn this into a rolled up flower, and I'm going to put the biggest end in the center. Don't worry if it's not perfect. My first one, I'll show you that, because it's funny. I did not watch the tutorial that DIY Beautify had for her version of these flowers. I just got the general gist of it. And the first time, look how much hot glue is everywhere. I mean, it's going to be all over. I'm going to have to get something out to melt it. But my first time that I was making it, this was the first one, I rolled 2 lengths of this cardboard, which is about 12 inches long, because it's thinner cardboard, and I rolled it tight, and I rolled it, I cut the edges straight. Then, when I did this one, can you see how it's not straight? I actually prefer this, and I didn't wrap it around itself as tight. So I'm going to just start rolling. And then after I get it rolled, I'll smush it a little bit, and then I'll come back and glue it just a little bit. And let me just tell you this on this video. I'm gonna ramble because there's so many things to tell you. And this is such a good craft if you are a messy crafter, and it's a great craft if you just want to craft with things that you probably have around your house. You probably have sticks or twigs or dowels. You probably have cardboard. You probably have some kind of paper. You may not have this ink from Magnolia, but you could use any kind of paint. This is just what I had on hand and decided to use. Okay, this is what that kind of looks like if you roll it really tight, but I'm going to let it unravel a little bit, so it's going to look a little bit more like this. And then I'm going to put a little glue at the bottom. Glue that shut. See how it's not all completely straight at the top? Okay, so this is what we're going to build our flowers on. And here's another tip. This dictionary, oh my gosh, I bought this a few years ago, and look at it. I have used so much of it. I love the color of this paper. The print is really small, but the thing with this is that the paper is really pretty thin. So if you can find a paper, whether it's a dictionary, an encyclopedia, a book, scrapbook paper, a map, whatever, that's a little bit thicker, I think this project will be easier. But basically what I did is I pulled 3 or 4 pages out, just used the tip of my scissors, you know, to cut. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this margin off the edges. And then I'm going to do my best when I cut out my petals to have them all aiming the same direction. In other words, I don't want 3 petals with the print going the right direction and 1 petal with it going upside down, and then the next 2 or 3 going correct. I want it all the same. This is what I did, and it was just based on fiddling around, okay? I'm going to cut this in half. Nothing precise here. And then I'm going to cut it in half this way. Okay, and so now I have, whoops, I want to turn it around so the print is all going the same direction. Let me check on that. I don't know how many pieces I have here. Okay, and then you can decide how big you want your petals to be. On the first go around, I made larger petals, and these are, get a pen and a piece of paper. These are 5 1/4 inches long. And at the tip, they are 3 1/2 inches wide. So I used almost all of this for my first go around. Then for my second go around, which we will actually be assembling, I decided to make them shorter. And this one is 4 1/2 long by 3 1/4 or 3 1/2 wide. We'll use those in just a minute. So that, and then you can do the top either with a funny little shape like this, or you can do just the whole piece of paper, which is basically what I did with this one. And it can be as big or small or whatever as you like. So I want these to be smaller. If you just fold your pile in half, these will be much smaller. Okay, then the next thing I did was, let me get a brush. What do I have that will work good? This will work just fine. Then I'm going to take some ink. And I'm just going to show you with a couple of these. You got to wait for them to dry. So I'm going to crunch them and crumple them. And pinch them in at the bottom. I see lots of people on. Hey Susie, hey Ann, hey Barbara, hi Diane. Okay. And you can crumple them even more after you get them glued on if you think they need more crumpling. And I'm just taking some of my ink. And I'm just, oh, this is not going to show up very good. Let's do a different color. So, this is one of those projects where I'm figuring things out as I'm going along. Let's try some gold. Yeah, that'll probably show up better. You can paint the whole thing, just do blobs, just do the edges. Absolutely whatever you want. Okay? And you could use some of that gold leafing, really nice paint. There's so many things you could do. Hey Jenny, how are you doing? Okay, so before I came live, I did a whole bunch of these. And I'm going to save these pieces because I'm going to be playing with this idea probably all day long. All right. So I'm going to take my flower center and we're going to be gluing the petals across the back. And I worked on these right here. And I just did the rose gold. Okay, and they're dry. So I'm going to crumple the center, pinch it small, and I'm going to do 12, 6, 3, and 9 first. Does this not seem so simple? And most likely, if you're a crafter, see, this is why you need low temperature glue. Most likely, if you're a crafter kind of person, you have everything that you need for this project just laying around the house somewhere. If not, you can improvise. Go out and get some sticks out of your yard. Okay. So now let's do, oh, and I know someone will ask me, how many pieces? On this bigger one, I did 8. On this smaller one, which I'm going to show you in a second how I did that, this is more like the DIY Beautifies, except I didn't do it as heavy. I could add 10 more layers behind this if I wanted. I did them straight, and I put just a little wave on the end. Anyways, the goal here is not to make the most beautiful book page flowers ever. It's to give you tons of ideas. Okay, see? We're just building. And I have glue strings everywhere. one of these. This is one of those Dollar Tree finger protector things. It's just on a little dowel. So you could use something like that, or you can just use really low temperature hot glue for this project. Don't use hot glue or you will be so sorry. I have what is called a SureBonder Cool Shot. It's a super cheapy low temperature hot gluing device. They also have high, but I prefer this one. It's under $10, and I usually, when mine have gone kaput, I will get a new one either at Hobby Lobby or Walmart for $9.99 or something. Okay, so here's the start of our flower, and now we're just going to keep building. Go in between each petal. You can come back after the fact and crumple and fluff and kind of move things around and get the glue off your fingers. See where we're going. This afternoon, I'm going to fiddle around with this vintage map, which my friend from Magnolia Design Company, Tanya Mann, she gave these out at a at our, they call it a celebration, but it was the conference. And I knew there was something I would be able to do with that. And so I asked her if I could take the leftovers, and she said, sure. Okay, see how our flower is coming together? Of course, if you like the idea of putting some paint on the end of your center of your flower, on the end of this, you certainly could do that. And you don't have to paint the petals at all. I just wanted to experiment a little bit. Okay, here is the start of a flower. What do you guys think? And I could keep adding more and more and more and more. And I might just lay these last three that I have kind of down flat. I am definitely going to come up with a few more ideas for these awesome flowers and make some more. And then you would just glue your dowel onto the back. I'm going to cut this one a little bit shorter, or quite a bit shorter actually. And you could create leaves if you wanted. And I could take one more piece of paper . Oh, and I wanted to mention to look at your pieces and make sure, I think it looks better with just print rather than, you know, something else on here. And just lay a piece of paper on the back of this to hide the hole, the dowel, and then I would just scrunch and fluff and add some glue if I needed to. Okay, is where I was headed originally, to do a little, an arrangement that had these metallic colors on it. This is copper and this is rose gold. So I'll do one more, a smaller one, to go right here. And when that is all finished, I will get pictures. But I want to show you next how to do this, because I think this is pretty darn cute too. Okay, so what I did basically was I took my paper, we'll just use this pieces. Just cutting that margin off. Okay, and then I'm going to turn both pieces so that they're going the same direction. There we go. Okay, and but I would cut a whole stack, 8 or 10 or 12 or however many you think you want to do, and you can make these as thick as you want. Okay, and for this next batch that we're going to do, I decided to make these a little bit smaller. And I just did sort of a like little scallopy shape on the top. And then I cut a little snip in towards the bottom. On this first one though, where did it go? I didn't cut the bottom part, and either way is fine. Okay, so I have a pile of these. We are not going to paint them, but you could use also that, what is this distress ink stuff called? You could use some of this. Or regular paint, or gild the edges, absolutely whatever you want. I'll just have it in here. It's upside down. Okay, so I have a pile, and I have this center that's all ready to go. And so I'm going to start folding and crumpling them. What do you guys think? And I know I'm going kind of fast. So if you want to come back after this is over and watch a replay and take notes. I mean, honestly, this is not hard at all. It's really not. I could, if I wanted to have something fun, use that little lobster. Yeah, it's a lobster on the front. Okay, so I have my little pieces, and I'm just going to pinch the center part in and start. I'm not worrying about glue strings at all right now. So I do think it's best if you do 12, 6, like on a clock, 9 and 3, and then fill in. I kind of like these ones that have more of a square but wavy end. And I'm definitely going to be fiddling around this afternoon with this map that Tanya gave me. See what I think about using that. Okay, let's do 4 more. So do it this or this if you like this project or this idea. And here's something else I wanted to mention. If you do this project, I would love, oh Melanie, that's a great idea. I'll share it in just a second. I would love to see. And I don't know if you know that I have a group page. It's just a Facebook group. It's free. It's called Dreamy DIY, and I created that page, gosh, 5 years ago, something like that, as a place for you guys to share even more crafty ideas with me and with each other. It doesn't cost anything to join, and you can share any kind of craft that you have made. Just don't share other crafters' videos, because then I get a million questions about how to make something that Sweet Barb from Shabby Tree did, and I have no idea. And please don't use that page to try to sell anything. And it's Dreamy DIY. Look how much glue I have on my fingers. And I'm not crying or screaming at all. Okay, Melanie Block, who is here frequently and has tons of great ideas and does all kinds of beautiful things. She said, what about tea staining your pages? I think that's a great idea. That would be awesome. One more piece to put on here. Well, I don't really even need to. But if you wanted it to be bigger or thicker or whatnot, you certainly could. I am plumb out of my small dowels, so let's see, what's the smallest item I have here? Let's use this one. It's a square. I'm using extra piece over the top just to camouflage some of this mess going on underneath. So you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, Heidi is so messy. And yes, I am. And I love crafts that messy people can do. This is definitely one of them. So you could add some paint to this. I mean, you could do this whole project on the back of a button, on a piece of bling. I just opted. I loved the idea that the gal from DIY Beautify, whose original idea this is, I loved how she used rolled up cardboard, and that's why I opted to do that as well. So here's two of this style of squarish with the slightly rippled pages. They are so cute. Okay, let me see what you all are saying. Looks like I'm fuzzy. You know, our internet here is fabulous one day and terrible the next, and I can't do anything about that. So hopefully you can see, and hopefully this has inspired you to make some of these book page flowers and put your own spin on it, like I did these. I did all of these with this little point. Can you see that? Right there at the end. And more of a round shape. And then I added some different inks, just like a messy, you know, random. So you could use jute rope. There's tons of ideas here. Melanie says crafts that make a mess turn out the best. Well, I most of the time think that, and I think that for sure today. So I encourage you to give this a try, to put your own unique spin on the idea, and then to share it with all of us over at Dreamy DIY. By the way, if you go to Dreamy DIY to join that group, be sure to answer the 3 questions, which are, you'll be nice, right? Yes, of course. You're not going to hurt anyone's feelings. You will not try to sell anything on that group. Yeah. And what's the 3rd? Oh, and you won't share other crafters' videos. You can obviously share your crafts. It doesn't matter who inspired you to make a particular craft. That's what we want. We want to see pictures of what you are making. But just don't share other crafters' videos in that group. It's Dreamy, and there's a space, DIY. So hop over and join, and then share your pictures there so that we can all get a ton more ideas. These little adorable flowers are practically free, and I'm not even kidding. I don't know how much a couple pages from an old dictionary would cost, or a little tiny strip of rolled up cardboard, or a dowel, but I bet you this is not more than a 10-cent per flower type craft. And you could come up and do some really fun different things. You could also mount them on something flat. I just opted to put them on stems. All right, well, do a this or a this. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you want my supply list. It's pretty simple. Book, pages, cardboard, hot glue, low temperature, paint or ink if you want. What else? And a dowel or a stick. And that's pretty much it. Okay. Well, it looks like I see lots of hearts and thumbs, and it looks like you guys liked this project, and I'm so glad you did. I loved it. I have been thinking about this project for 24 hours since I saw DIY Beautify. That, I don't know what her first name is, I'm sorry. But anyways, I saw her picture of her photos, and I did share a post from her blog here, if you want to go check that out. Anyways, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do a few more things, and I'll come back with photos. But if you want to sprinkle, that would be awesome. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Have a blessed and wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you again very soon here on